So we got two mouse pads on the table today. We have the Fnatic Focus 3, which is the newest of the two, and then we also have the Fnatic Dash, but most of this video is going to be about the Focus 3. The Focus 3 has a really smooth texture and a very consistent feel, and I wouldn't quite call it a speed pad, but I wouldn't quite call it a control pad either. It's very nice where you have a nice mix of both speed and control, as well as smoothness and a pretty nice texture. It is heat treated, but it's not a coating, so it's not going to wear over time. And I've also been using this pad for about a month, putting a lot of time gaming on it and whatnot. And I've also played like the Battlefield beta a couple weeks ago. I put a couple hours into that on this pad, and it's done pretty well. The rubber base does a pretty decent job at like not really sliding around on your desk. Like if you have, you know, your keyboard on your desk and then you also have your mouse and you're just playing and whatnot, even if you put a little bit of force, the pad is not going to move on your desk at all. So that's pretty nice that you've got a solid rubber base that you don't have to worry about slipping and sliding anywhere. The best pad that I could say that this one is in direct competition with, in my opinion, is probably the Odin Zero Gravity. This one feels very similar. It's also a 4mm thick pad, so you do get a decent amount of plushness. And as far as the feel of the pad, it feels pretty similar, even though I would say the Zero Gravity is just a little bit softer, but it's very indistinguishable. They both have a lot of speed and a lot of control, where this I would definitely say is a lot more balanced than something like the Dash that we'll talk about in a little bit, where that one is a lot quicker. But in terms of the surface, very smooth with this surface. I do like it quite a bit, and I don't think that it's going to slow down over time. Hasn't slowed down on me during the past month that I've been using it, and it's also done a pretty good job at staying pretty clean too. Like it's got a couple pieces of lint, but that's probably from, you know, wearing hoodies and stuff like that since it's getting cold. But otherwise, this thing has done a really good job at staying clean. The main part about this pad that attracts me is that you get very similar performance to something like a Zero Gravity at a pretty similar price. The medium pad is only $15, the large is going to be $20, and the desk pad is only $30. So I think that these are incredibly fair prices that are in the realm of like some aesthetic desk pads, but you have a lot more performance than going with something that has like a really good design but not so good gaming performance if you're looking at your average desk pad, which most of them, honestly speaking, the gaming performance of them is not that good. If you want something to switch up on your desk when you got, you know, your cool looking keyboard and a decent mouse and whatnot, and you want straight up gaming performance for not a ton of money, I do think that the Focus 3 is a pretty good option at a very fair price. And the Focus 3 also has this printed Fnatic logo in the bottom right, so that's pretty much the only thing that you have on this pad to know what brand it's from and to have any kind of clue of what kind of pad it is. But minimal branding, it looks pretty good, very clean aesthetic. I think the only thing that I would like to see is maybe a version that has like orange stitching or something like that, like orange and black stitching. That would be kind of cool just to spice it up and give it a little bit of a different vibe, because typically, you know, we get a lot of all black mouse pads, so definitely they all look the same, but we should get a little bit more Fnatic flair. I think that would be pretty cool, and it would switch up the aesthetic. There really aren't too many mouse pads that are black with orange stitching, so I definitely feel like we should have another version of this Focus 3. One thing that I will say about both of these pads is that they did a pretty good job at rolling flat out of the box. The Dash I haven't been using for as long. I've only been using this one for about a week because I've been putting a lot of my testing on the Focus 3, especially because I really like those cloth pads. I'm not like a preferred hybrid pad lover, to be honest. Like I like hybrid pads a little bit, but I usually prefer the comfort and the control of a cloth pad. But this Dash, it feels pretty nice. The texture is not as rough as some other hybrid pads that I've tried, like the Odin Infinity. That texture is really rough, and I would say that that pad is also considerable amount faster than the Dash as well. Like this one has a pretty soft texture that doesn't bother my skin at all, and you get a decently fast and moderately controlled experience with this. The closest pad that I would compare this to something that I've tried is probably the Pulsar Para Control. This one I do like, and I'm pretty sure that this pad is a bit bigger than the Para Control from Pulsar 2. I don't have my square Para Control anymore, so I can't do a one-on-one comparison, but I'll throw the sizes up on the screen right now so you can see how big the Pulsar is and how big the Fnatic is. But using the Dash, I don't have any problems with it. This one also has a really solid base as well, so if you have your arm on it and you're using your mouse, you don't have to worry about this mouse pad sliding all over your desk. The rubberized base is pretty good. The stitching as well on both pads, it's very close to the top of the pad, and it does feel, dare I say, very similar to an artisan pad. It's not bad at all. I would say that this is definitely some grade A stitching. The biggest problem that I would say that the Dash has is probably just the price, because if you want the full size desk pad version of the Dash, you're looking at like $55, which is quite a bit. Like, that's a pretty hefty amount of money for a mouse pad. And don't get me wrong, it is very nice. The build quality is great, the stitching work is great as well, and so is the base, but $55 for the entire desk pad of the Dash. And then if you want the XL size, you're looking at about 40 bucks, which is still a lot. The biggest competition to the Dash is definitely going to be the Para Control from Pulsar, which has a pretty similar feel in terms of like having a very nice and soft texture, and then also the Odin Infinity. The Para Control, I think, is a little bit of a better deal, even though the pad is not as big in terms of just the XL square size. I feel like the Para Control is a bit smaller. The Para Control is $25 and the Dash is $35 or $40 for comparable sizes, or even more, you know, if you want the desk pad size. Now, the Para Control, I don't have the price of the desk pad size of the Para Control, so I'm not entirely sure what that would be. It could be surprising and be, you know, $50 or $55 as well. But if I had to guess, with Pulsar's track record, I would think that the Para Control desk pad size would be somewhere around $40. And for $40, if I happen to be right, I would still go with the Para Control over the Dash for that bigger size. But if you prefer to have a taller square mouse pad, then for $40, I don't think the Dash is a bad price, but it's just a very similar feel in terms of the texture and material to the Para Control from Pulsar. The Odin Infinity is a little bit of a better deal because you do get similar sizes for less money, but the pad is going to have a different feel, and it's not going to be a one-to-one comparison in terms of like if you touch this pad and you touch the Infinity, it's not going to be the same feel. The Infinity is a faster and rougher textured pad, so it's not a one-to-one. Overall, I think that the Focus 3 is a really great price pad for the performance, especially for the size, and the Dash I think is decently priced. Like, I definitely think that it could use a little bit of a discount, and I do think that the performance of the Dash is very good. And I also like the fact that the Dash has this pretty cool logo that's kind of shiny on the bottom of the mouse pad as well. I think it looks pretty cool, and it is a little bit different than you know, other like printed logos we've seen on mouse pads before, like the Focus 3, and you know, printed designs and whatnot. But I think a little badge goes a long way. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed as well. I will have these pads linked in the description below if you want to check them out. And again, thank you for watching.